All right.
It's Thor 2.
It's Thor 2.
More like Thor poo.
Yeah.
Because it stinks.
God, I had to clean up some cat shit right before we started recording, and that was better than watching Thor 2.
But
shorter.
You paused it to clean the cat litter. Was that for Iron Man?
No, not cat litter, just on the floor. Or was that...
Oh, the cat just shit on the floor?
Cat just shit on the
floor.
You had
to clean that up before?
It's just an old cat, and old cats do stuff like that sometimes.
That's like a perfect prelude to this movie. I think this is the worst one. Like, my ranking... We got to do, like, an official ranking, because the two Thor movies are at the bottom for me. Like, even beneath Hulk. Even beneath Hulk.
When you get down to this, well, that's the thing. Like, none of these movies are like. Well, this is where we run into a terminological challenge. None of these movies are never that bad. Like, they're never bad. Like, a bad movie is bad.
Oh yeah, that's why.
But a bad movie would be better than this, because it would be more interesting in how bad it is. Like I would rather watch like a Dracula 3000.
Like a bad mediocre, like a mediocre bad.
Yeah.
Where it's like bad, but it's like it's technically competent. Like that's what I usually give like a 2-star rating to. Where
it's like lukewarm
it looks
fries
like a movie.
It's
like it doesn't look like it was shot in someone's basement. It doesn't sound like the audio isn't fucked up. There's not microphones dangling in the camera. It's not absolutely insane outsider, like low budget sleaze just to get like nude girls in a movie. It's not that. Or it's not one of those like god awful like Christian films. So I can't in good faith give like something that like as awful as this movie looks, and we'll get into it. This movie looks like shit.
Yeah, it's
it's
very much ugly, like the peak of like your eyes just kind of slide off of it.
It's like they look like movies, but it's so like glossy and sheen with that, CG overlay and all the special effects, of course, computer generated, and just the color grading where there's just nothing to latch onto.
The actual dark world is very ugly and dull. Like that should be the interesting part of the movie when they finally, you're sitting there you're sitting there for an hour, like Millhouse. When are they going to get to the dark world?
We're going to the dark world. We're going to the dark world.
When are they going to get to the fireworks factory?
It's just sand, and it's not even like good sand. It's not like you're watching El Topo or any of those other movies where they shot on like an actual desert or whatever. No, it's just like they threw some sand on the floor of a studio and just sat Chris Hemsworth in front of a green screen.
You know what this reminds me of?
Most of this movie was shot in front of a green screen.
A lot of this reminds me of Dragon Ball Z, where every fight just kind of takes place in a vaguely detailed wasteland.
Like, okay. At first I wasn't sure if you meant like Dragon Ball Z itself or the
because just at least in the anime, it's like, and I'm going to confess I've really only seen the abridged series, but it's like every fight just kind of takes place in a vaguely detailed environment where there's just kind of a desert with some cliffs or something, or Namek, which just kind of sort of looks like the Lorax, and there's just like just these kind of empty arenas for the fights to happen, which I understand in animation in a show like that where you've got to like make like 500 episodes, and there's other stuff going on, but in a movie, in these movies, and more of these movies, like they look like I noticed the Eternals seemed like a lot of that from the trailers. It's just fields and plains and wastelands
because it's all green screen, and then can, like, it's easy to train. Like they shot a real field at some point, but the actors sure weren't standing in it.
Oh, it's or like a PS2 like era, like a Warriors, like a Dynasty Warriors game or something, or because of the graphics, because it's like one of those games you fight like 100 guys at once, but every arena you fight them in is just kind of like a blurry gray area, or blurry brown area with some cliffs that stop you from at the edge that stop you from leaving, and that's what. Except for the London fight, that's what a lot of this movie and a lot of these movies start to feel like, and it sucks, man.
It's terrible. So
we should probably do the plot synopsis.
Yeah, let me do the plot synopsis. Because you know what, the most unfortunate thing about this movie is it establishes a very critical part of like the continuity, because it introduces the like the red ether. They only say this in that mid-credit sequence with Benicio del Toro. That's the, I think it's the Power Stone, the
Infinity Stone.
And this movie is so bad that like in come Endgame, they go back in time to go back to this movie and make it better, basically, and make it more entertaining.
That's
I'm only somewhat joking.
That's really joking. Funny.
It's okay, but all right.
Out of the dim, shadowy past, he walks into today. That golden-haired immortal, straight out of yesterday. The mightiest of Vikings, walking the land once more, hurling thunderbolts as he goes. The great, the mighty Thor, the thunder god, Thor, the wonder god, Thor.
From HBO's Alan Taylor, the auteur television director behind Game of Thrones, The Sopranos, and Boardwalk Empire, it's Thor 2. The great and mighty Thor returns in Thor: The Dark World, a movie I saw on a date in 2013 and remember little to nothing about because it's somehow even more lifeless and boring than the first one. 2022 Oscar winner for Best Original Screenplay, Kenneth Branagh stepped down from director to producer and passed Thor's hammer off to Alan Taylor for his work on Game of Thrones, presumably since it was popular at the time and nobody knew what the fuck else to do with another Thor movie. Suffice to say, there isn't anything dark, like bloodshed, dragons, or rape and incest like The Dark World. Nope, all that sicko shit is for television, not movies meant to make Disney $300 million in China. After the events of the Avengers, Thor and his merry band of forgettable sidekicks are waging a war of peace throughout the Nine Realms. Back on Asgard, Loki is grounded in Odin's underground dungeon for gay war crimes on Earth. Some evil dark elves Odin's dad thought he genocided eons ago escape from the Phantom Zone so they can steal the ether, red glowy goop that has the power to return all 9 realms to the cosmic darkness during convergence, a rare alignment of the worlds over Greenwich, England, predicted by Stonehenge. Natalie Portman phones it in as Jane Foster, who's abandoned being a girl in STEM and conveniently moved to London so she can pine after the alien Viking that ghosted her. When she goes to investigate a case of gravitational instability in a scene that's nothing like the Beyond segment in The Animatrix, Jane falls through a space portal and is infected with the space goop shit before the Dark Elves can get to it. And fearing the power of the glowy red goop that will destroy a mortal like Jane, Thor takes her back to Asgard for like 45 chemistry-less minutes until Doctor Who and the Dark Elves come to do some terrorism and kill Rene Russo off. Then some more stuff happens in front of a green screen that should look kind of cool and vibrant, but instead looks like a sci-fi channel movie, color graded by Zack Snyder's team. Thor 2: The Dark World? More like Boar Poo, The Shart World. This movie stinks! I'm gonna be telling Miguel to play a lot of fart sound effects this episode, because, boy, is this movie a stinker.
It's
not even Marvel people like this movie. I think this has... I'm not sure if Hulk is lower on the Letterboxd average, but this one's like 2.5 or 2.6. This one's low. Like, yeah, even Marvel, except for the real soft-brained ones, which we'll get to because I found a gem. Yeah, they think this is a stinky doo-doo boring movie.
Yeah, it's no bueno. It's weird. And I think like I could kind of feel your synopsis sort of slowly degrading as it went along. Yeah. It's like it's just
this movie degrades.
This entire movie is just like stuff happens. Like the pacing is off. The editing, even like when I say pacing, I mean even just like moment to moment. Like things just sort of happen without a lot of impact. Like it's just an even flow of events, and then it ends. And it's so hard to keep your eyes on what's going on because just and this is this like this thing we keep trying to describe this Teflon quality to these movies at their, if not worst, at their most them, at their least interesting, and this movie is just that most strongly encapsulated so far.
Yeah, because like this movie, they still had no idea what to do with Thor. So they're just like, what's popular right now? And what was popular was what else? Fucking Game of Thrones. Like there's that one, the scene where Frigga is assassinated. Like the editing you mentioned, it looked like a television show because it looked almost like shot for shot exactly like there's that one scene in season 1 of Game of Thrones where I think Arya escapes from the palace, and I forget what the capital city is called, but it's like King's Landing. It was like practically the exact same angles, and just like I had mentioned already that Game of Thrones had just come out when the first Thor was released. Like I think it was a manner of like maybe it was like a couple weeks or something like that. Then again, I'm pretty consistently wrong on this show.
That sounds about right to me. But just going from memory.
But like they got Alan Taylor specifically because he worked on Game of Thrones. And actually I like many cases when the Marvel movie is shitty, the behind the scenes is a lot more interesting. So like Kenneth Branagh is like, I don't want to make a sequel like with such a quick turnaround from like making the first one. So he stepped down from being the director, became producer for this movie. I don't know if he's producer for Ragnarok, but yeah. And also in the interim, since we talked about Thor, Kenneth has won another Oscar. So congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations. He got to see the slap live too. But anyways, yeah, Marvel had beforehand, like they were deliberately looking for HBO people to direct this. Like aside from Patty Jenkins was like in serious negotiations with Marvel for like several months in 2011, but like aside from her, they were really looking at people who have like directed episodes of Game of Thrones, especially like there's a Brian Kirk, a guy who directed a bunch of episodes of Game of Thrones, never had worked on a big budget movie before, had only really mostly worked in television. And then they also looked at a guy named Daniel Minahan, who also directed a bunch of Game of Thrones episodes, but had never made a feature film before. So I feel like they were kind of testing the waters a little bit this was like a shallow first attempt to do the thing that they now do, which is plucking a independent filmmaker who has made like one or two films, like a film that has recently done very well on like the festival circuit. And they're like, okay, we're going to give you $200 million, make this movie, more money than you've ever seen in your life. But It's also hysterical because Alan Taylor, who's, we should also mention, he made the Many Saints of Newark, which I haven't seen,
which apparently is terrible.
Which is apparently terrible. But like at least in looking up like information about post-production, Alan Taylor was actually pretty transparent about the fact that the movie's shitty. At least in the, you know, somewhat after. So he said he said at one point, and I'm just going to read this. I've learned that you don't make a $170 million movie with someone else's money and not have to collaborate a lot. The Marvel experience was particularly wrenching because I was sort of given absolute freedom while they were shooting, and then in post it turned into a different movie. So that is something I hope never to repeat, and I don't wish upon anyone else.
That seems to be what happens to a lot of these. Is
so this Marvel experience, this Marvel process, or I guess how you can, the factory, as we like to think about it. Like I just mentally imagine just a meat factory churning out fucking prepackaged meat, and it's Marvel movies. But he, like, I think he might have gotten a little trouble for saying this, because he let this slip at like the D3 Expo, which is like the big giant Disney like exposition they hold like each year, where they show off all the new Disney things that are coming out. They're like, look, we got 5 new Star Wars movies coming out. So he said, and I quote, we're doing full scenes that were not in the movie before. We're adding scenes, creating scenes, writing scenes for the first time. The one involving Loki was a fun connective scene. We realized how well Loki was working in the movie, and we wanted to do more with him. So it was kind of that kind of thing. It was like, oh, we could do this. We could just jam it in there because he's such a wonderful guy to watch and do his stuff. Which I threw Loki in there specifically because the original version, or the original like cut of this movie, Loki was supposed to die off, and then in the original like completed draft or screenplay, Loki wasn't actually supposed to appear at all. And the only reason they put Loki in there was because Loki did so well like with the Avengers. And they actually like included like a original test screening they did for this movie included, like, this was supposed to be the end of Loki. He was supposed to get killed.
And that's I find that interesting, that it makes sense that he was both added in late and then modified late. And that shows you how much it's like, they're like, oh, okay, make the movie you want to make, and then we'll just come in and fuck with it a bunch after the fact.
Yeah, this is just no one had control. Like, just too many pots or pans in the kitchen. Too many fingers
thing with these big franchises, and we'll see how. I don't know at what point they switch to like the real assembly line model. I need to. I don't know where to find more behind the scenes stuff. Well, I think it's movies like this that probably led them to do that, where it's like, okay, we need these to be more consistent and tie into each other more, and that necessitated a more centralized system. But even at this point, like with these big franchise movies, nothing can stand on its own or be too different, and so you need to come in and re-chop and rearrange things. But I mean, that said, like, Loki is one of the few things in this movie that like is kind of works. I mean, I think they sort of like you can tell he's added in late because the way they write him and handle him feels a little bit off. Like he's a little too.
For the first 45 minutes, he's in gay prison.
Yeah,
and he's grounded. He's grounded.
When they spring him, it's like he kind of integrates like a little too easily, and he's a little too goofy. Like he should be funny, but he's like a little too like doing his tight five, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tom Hiddleston's back must hurt from really carrying this movie. Like, like when he came on screen, it was like there was just
But he is very
not a pulse, but like a faint, a faint, like.
Yeah, he's very watchable
presence.
as this character, and even when he's a little like the execution's a little off, he's still fun, and it's like this from the get go. Like if we're gonna imagine like a good version of this movie, and I could almost see one like the parts are kind of there. It's just this whole movie is so. And that must be a product in part of so many reshoots. The whole movie feels first draft. Like everybody's one-liners are just like, I had it in my notes. Like,
yeah, they give Darcy a lot of the one-liners.
Well, Darcy's just a quip machine and nothing else.
Yeah, she's just
even worse than she was in the first movie. This makes her really annoying.
She did have one line though at the very I think it might be one of the very last lines of the movie. Mjolnir flies past, and the only reason I noticed this was because I had the closed captions on my TV just for convenience sake. And she saw it go past, and she goes, "Oh, Mew Mew," and I kind of thought that was funny, but that's it's a drop of water in a dry wasteland.
Well, that's the thing. There's a handful of moments that you could say sort of stand out, but they only stand out because the rest of the movie is so dull.
Exactly.
When Thor goes to be like, "Okay, Loki, we need you to get us out of Asgard because we're going renegade," and he's all like done up himself, and then he's like, "No more illusions," and then the illusion fades away, and he's all like fucked up, and his prison cell's all messed up, like he's just looks like shit.
Oh my god! So I remember,
that's kind of clever. It doesn't the execution isn't even very good in a lot of these, but it's you squint and you can see a better movie.
The Loki fangirls were all over that scene. I remember that being a big popular GIF set that would make the rounds on Tumblr. Just emo Loki with the bloody foot and with his he kind of looks like his character in Jim Jarmusch's shit. Hold on, what's the fucking
Jim Jarmusch's shit?
The only lovers left alive. I don't know why I just blanked on a movie.
The vampire one?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, the vampire one, which is with Tilda Swinton.
I've never seen any of his movies.
Only Lovers Left Alive is great. Tom Hiddleston should just be he's just great at playing a goth pale guy, and that's as broad as a label as I can give him to encapsulate something like a undead rock musician, vampire, and the god of tricksterism or whatever.
Is that what he is in Only Lovers Left Alive?
Yeah, he's like a vampire who's
a rock
become
star.
A reclusive rock musician. Yeah.
That's just Lestat.
Yeah, but it's
from Anne Rice. That's just Lestat.
I mean, kind of, but he also gets to bang Tilda Swinton.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Which is a pretty good trade-off.
I read a few of those Anne Rice books, man. I could God, I'd like to find an excuse to talk about those someday because they're weird, man. But Thor. So Thor, fuck this, and that's the thing. There's the pieces are all there, but they're just everything's very obvious. Like Thor, or Loki betrays Thor at one point and stabs him, and it's as soon as he pulls the knife, and I'm like, okay, this is a fake betrayal, so that he can then betray the bad guys. And it's I've seen it's, and then there's the engineered prison break. The bad guys have a big horned guy who's got too many greebles on him, like all these movies. That's bad guys are just big guys with too many greebles. It's everything feels like Loki kills that big horned guy later in the movie, and he's like, what does he say? I wrote it down, and he just says,
the fact that we're calling him a horned guy, we don't even know his name.
No, yeah, the big bad guy monster. He just says, "See you in hell, monster," and that's not. That's such a flat line, and that's a lot of the action hero lines in this movie are just you're bad and I don't like you. They feel like
crickets.
placeholders for real dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, oh god, the whole escape sequence from Asgard, and they do like a heist movie thing where they're all sitting around describing what's going to happen, then you cut to it happen, then cut back to them planning, and then cut to it happening. And the entire Thor squad, which again, all of them are set up like they're kind of like supposed to be distinct and have personalities, but then they don't. And all they exist to do is a series of "I'll hold them offs, go on ahead."
Yeah. Yeah,
that's all of them. All of them are just "I'll hold them off, go on ahead," over and over and over again, and it really sucks.
Did you notice them? Did you notice one of them was replaced? Of course you didn't.
No. How would I notice?
Robin,
the rapier guy
one with like the thin ass sword.
That's a rapier.
I forget who the original dude was, sword. But they replaced him with Zachary Levi.
I didn't notice he was a different guy.
Yeah. Of course not, because they're so inconsequential and so underused, and it's like, also, what happened to the black guy? Didn't Thor have a black friend in his group? Or am I making this up?
I think they looked at the statistics, and they're like, well, we've already got Heimdall, we've already got Idris, and we just don't need another black guy in this movie. I think he was there in the beginning. That's the
Asian guy. The Asian guy.
Oh, right, the Asian guy. Yeah, I had in my notes like Chinese Viking, which there's no reason they can't be multi-ethnic, whatever. It doesn't really matter. There's like something like slightly funny, like these are supposed to be the Norse gods. We've just got one Chinese guy, just one. And again, like the fight, like it reminded me. Because we get a Lord of the Rings exposition intro where
same
Anthony
thing as the first movie
sounds
too.
very bored while he explains how the Asgardians genocided the Dark Elves who existed before time when all was darkness, and they hate the light, and that's their sole motivation the entire movie. They're just the frost giants again.
They're just evil.
But they're dark elves. And then like the first movie kind of vaguely gestured at the idea that like maybe going to war and wiping out an entire race is bad. Like vaguely.
It really didn't, though. Not even. I wouldn't even say vaguely. I would say it didn't at all, because I don't remember anything. I mean,
this movie is like Thor's grandpa didn't kill all the Dark Elves, so they came back to destroy the universe, and then Thor killed them. And it's like, okay, so like the moral of the movie, if you're paying attention, which I wouldn't fault anybody for not paying attention, is like if you should genocide the bad race, and you should be thorough.
Yeah, stinky
that
movie,
is the moral of
people.
the movie.
Stinky movie.
But again, like I wonder what the original movie was underneath all the reshoots.
Because
that would explain why so many things feel thin and first drafty and placeholdery, is because they're making it up at the last minute to slot in where they were supposed to be in the movie.
I think Alan Taylor said something along the lines that it was originally supposed to be more of like, kind of like a children's like fairy tale sort of as kind of like adventure romp, I guess.
I feel like Willow. And like I feel like in theory this is supposed to be like an 80s fantasy movie. Which is like
when Patty Jenkins was in talks, like she had pitched them on like Viking Romeo and Juliet, which is hilarious because they had Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth have
Isn't that what they do with Wonder Woman?
Than they had. I mean, to some
feel
extent,
like Natalie Portman's character gets slightly more personality in like the first act, and then she's just a plot object for the rest of the movie.
Oh my god, that fucking scene where she's on. First of all, why are you on a date you clearly don't want to be on? Like that.
Oh, with the guy from IT Crowd who's.
Oh, that's okay. He's not the. No, that's who's the transphobic one?
No, not
he wrote it,
Graham
right?
Linehan, the writer of the show. Just the guy who was like one of the lead cast members, and I forget his name, the Irish guy. Okay. I always found him like he's a good actor. He's always very charismatic, and I feel like, but I mean, this movie like just doesn't need like all the Earth stuff at all. Like why? And this might have been reshoot stuff because it's like, oh, we got to have the climax in London. We got to go back to Earth. We got to follow Kat Dennings and Peter Sarsgaard around. Oh, they do Peter Sarsgaard dirty in this too. He's like, the idea of him going kind of crazy from being possessed by Loki isn't a bad idea, but they just treat him like such a joke, and it feels I would really like to tonally out of place and mean-spirited.
I would very much like to see the raw footage of him running around Stonehenge with his dick out. Disney, release the Skarsgård gut, please.
The Skarsgård gut
for me. I mean, not really. I don't want to look at an old man's dick and balls, but like, yeah, no, that's
the Skarsgård cut actor. Or the hold on. The Skarsgård cut or the Skarsgård uncut?
Oh. I mean, I don't know what they do over in Sweden.
Probably uncut.
I don't know what they're...
It's really only in North America where people who are not of the tribe are prone to do that, I think.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård is a great actor. He's like fantastic, and I think...
I can't keep. Yeah. I forget which one's which. I just know he's like the older Skarsgård, but he's great. He rules.
Yeah.
What was that cop show he was in? The British cop show. Where he like saw visions of the victims or something, or ghosts.
Not Ghost Whisperer.
No, that was a British show.
I don't know. I don't watch British TV.
You know, if this was 2008, it would be just like, well, British TV is the best TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the thing, the opinion du jour for a while. But yeah, no, he's
especially they make like such HBO.
They make such a joke of his character in a way that is like, but like we just don't need like this should just be a fantasy movie basically, and we should just like not have the Earth stuff at all, or if we gotta have Natalie Portman in it, just enough Earth stuff to get her to Asgard. And then, like, that's it. Like the movie should start at the end of the first act, and then we just never go back to Earth. Just fuck Earth. It's boring. All the other movies are set there. We don't need to go there.
But the problem is, Asgard also sucks. It is boring.
Asgard also... Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, this hypothetical good version of the movie, it's like, Asgard would also not suck, and the Dark World would not suck, and everything would not suck. So it's like, there's also 80 other things you need to fix. But, like, this should be like Legend or Willow or like an 80s fantasy movie with like cool art direction and cool visuals and like awesome sets and costumes, and it's not, and that's why it's and like also maybe dialogue that's not terrible.
Because they're trying to mime Game of Thrones because that was what was popular.
But they don't do at the time. They didn't know what the fuck else to do with
IP.
They don't do anything with the Game of Thrones. Like
because they can't.
They vaguely set up that there might be like a romantic rivalry between Natalie Portman and Sif, like Thor's cucked warrior friend-zoned woman. And then that never goes anywhere.
No.
And that's something.
That was a plot line.
That's a point of tension. But this movie just has too many plots. So we've got like the Natalie Portman comes to Asgard and she's a human and she's out of place. And then that just doesn't go there's like you get two jokes and then it doesn't go anywhere. Like and that's I guess that is like the reshooting. That's putting Loki in's a good decision because he should have been in from the beginning. It saves
this from being absolutely unwatchable.
Yeah. Like this movie from the beginning should have been Thor and Loki are forced to work together and you deal with the trust in that, and then the two of them and maybe Natalie Portman, and you give her like something more to do in this movie, and then they go on a cool space fantasy adventure. And that should have been the movie, but there's just like 80 other things going on that don't go anywhere with the Earth bullshit and Stellan Skarsgård and Kat Dennings and fucking the jailbreak from just the guys they arrest at the beginning of the movie. And the Dark Elves are boring villains with no motivation and nothing interesting about them. And of course, it's like a guy and he's all dressed in black and he's pale and he's got a uniform that's got too many greebles on it and a big hood, and he's in a big, pointy, dark, big spaceship that's got too many fucking greebles on it, and it's just like Star Trek 2009,
Yeah.
and every other one of like any other like sci-fi, fantasy, action adventure movie from the last 15 years. They're all bad guys with too many greebles and big, dark, pointy spaceships.
Yeah.
It is just like the most. Every decision is just the most obvious decision, creatively, plot-wise. Like every single one, every line of dialogue is, again, it's like placeholder dialogue. There's just nothing about this movie has any personality or imagination at all. I don't really put that on Alan Taylor. I think he's just, that's what you get when you make a Marvel movie.
Yeah. He was forthright in saying like, yeah, I'm not proud of that work, and the end result was vastly different than what I had originally shot and envisioned. So he definitely feels screwed by the Marvel machine in some aspect. But the unfortunate thing is Marvel is like become just so dominant in our culture and entertainment that even the bad, shitty ones like this still have their ardent fans. And we had been, me and Stu had been talking about this.
Inexplicably, there's nothing. There's a little tiny bit of Loki and like nothing else. And there's nothing about this movie to grab onto at all.
Yeah,
it's a smooth, featureless object. It's the sphere from Phantasm, but nothing pointy comes out. Have you ever seen Phantasm?
Yes. Yeah, I have.
Oh, then then you know what that movie's awesome. I gotta watch that.
Yeah, so we had been talking about this for a while because the further we go along the Marvel Cinematic Universe, well, actually our next movie, if we keep going the MCU route, our next movie would be Winter Soldier, which that would give me the opportunity to go into all like the shipping and like queer baiting discourse that's generated specifically around like that.
Now we get like Bucky. Now I think we've got. Here's the things I want to do as we go on.
Yeah.
Is I want to dig into the fandom, and I want to dig into the marketing machine, not just like the ads and tie-ins, but like all of the like clickbaity discourse articles that are just closet advertising,
clearly,
whether literally bought and paid for or just chasing clicks by talking about something big, which is just indirectly being part of it. Because I think like a lot of the discourse around these movies, especially as we enter the like socially conscious 2010s, is manufactured both for the benefit of whatever website is putting up this or that article, and to advertise the films where they'll be like,
absolutely.
And you see this with like other stuff, like more recently, just because these are ones that come to mind because they're more recent, like the whole
fucking
thing is
Eternals.
Like, is Eternals. Yeah. Oh, the first sex scene in a Marvel movie, which I mean, we debunked. There's a sex scene in Iron Man. And and you see those other Disney stuff like, oh, the first gay kiss in Star Wars, it just happens in the background, and it's like they want to do as little as possible and hype it up as much as possible, and they just get people arguing about it, or Luca, the Pixar movie, which is a perfectly fine movie actually. I liked it more than some of the other recent stuff of that type, but they had this whole like, oh, it's a queer coming out story, all this discourse about that. And you watch the movie and it's like, if you really squint and read into it, you can find it, but it's like,
which is like,
it's just, on the one hand you can also just read it as about like people from different cultures becoming friends, which is like a pretty stock story.
Yeah. Like, it's fine when I will grant, because a similar thing, like Loki, like putting aside the fact that I'm not even stepping in that discourse where, shipping, like, because there were a fair amount of people
is
who
queer and
Thor
he's neurodivergent and he's
together.
Literally a minor.
But Thor and Loki have better, like, chemistry and better. They're more entertaining and engaging to watch together than Thor and Jane. And so, part of the reason I think that, like, a good amount of, like, you know, queer shipping takes off is because, like, the straight romances aren't very interesting, or, you know, they don't have that sort of, like, emotional or dramatic, like, baggage that can be really explored and developed. But anyways, I'm getting off topic because we're finally doing the goddamn thing, which is seeking out terrible reviews that give these movies like absurdly high ratings. So I perused.
We're going after
Letterboxd.
the simps. We got our serrated knives out.
So I went through Letterboxd, as I usually do, my favorite social media platform, and I just searched most recent 5-star reviews, and most of them were like, you know, maybe one shitpost sentence, or like, yeah, or, you know, someone from Brazil or whatever. And then I came across this one, which is like 7 paragraphs long, and it is the most soft brain thing I think I've ever read in my life. So I'm not going to share this guy's name, but people have ways of. I've already posted it on my Twitter, so who cares? It's not. But yeah, I'll read this because it's he breaks down the main complaints people wage against this new movie and why they're wrong. But in doing so, also provides a nice backbone for just the many problems of this movie that we'd like to discuss.
This guy, should we name him? Is that unfair? I like looking. Sometimes people's profiles, like you look at, like you try to get like context for what their deal is when you see like a review like this.
Yeah. He gave like Moonlight half a star. Not 1.5 stars, half a star.
I wanted to look at like the movies he actually hates, but I clicked my rating highest first, so it's like the movies I like most. He gave Heathers 1.5 stars.
Amazing. Well, he gave like like I'll kind of grant giving the David Lynch short The Grandmother, where he's just like he's got one of his collaborators just pretending she has no leg in a rocking chair. He gave that half a star, which I'm like, all right, I get it. If you know you're not into that shit. Personally, that's some like 3-star shit for me, but I'm a David Lynch simp. But yeah, Blaze is probably the most pure example I've come across on Letterboxd of someone who just seems like completely Marvel brained. Like, you go through all their lists, like prison movies ranked, action movies ranked. Every movie at the top, like, is a Marvel or a DCU movie.
And all of his reviews have like 80 hyperlinked links to his lists, which you have to put the HTML in for those manually on Letterboxd.
I'll give him that. That's impressive. Like, yeah, and on, oh my god, his ET/Alien films rank. Guess where ET, the Steven Spielberg's fantastic, great movie ET comes in? Guess what number that's sitting at?
I don't know, 20 out of 45.
No. 31 out of 122. But do you want to guess what he ranked higher than E.T.? Or no, but he put Venom. Well, Venom 2. He put Venom 2 at 16, and let's see, number 1 is Avengers Endgame. Or no, it's Infinity War, I think. Infinity War.
Oh, I guess those technically have aliens in them and stuff. Yeah, okay.
That's an alien movie, I guess. But yeah, so let me just read the first paragraph in this his first clap back at the complaint, the rightful complaint that has been waged against this movie, may I add. So
Yeah.
I get
His review isn't really a review. It's just a series of defenses against things he's read in other people's reviews that are critical of the movie.
Pretty much. Okay. I get it that this may be the low point of the Thor franchise, which are all 5-star fantasy action flicks to me. But this one is largely loathed for what seems to me are all the wrong reasons. Here are the main complaints I see from folks regarding this film. Also, this guy just says folks like all the time. Like, listen,
that's
folks.
That's such a soy thing
folks.
to do.
It's like, dude, you're not in like a freshman year orientation group. Calm down. Complaint number 1. The film is gray washed. My answer. What the hell is the point of this complaint? If you want a colorful watch, go back to cartoons. Linking the color templates of this film... linking the color templates of this film, or any film, to its entertainment value is like saying the Mona Lisa is garbage because it's not neon. Okay. I'm not claiming this film is on an artistic level as the aforementioned Mona Lisa, but it's a fair comparison of how I feel about that complaint here. Sir, please get your eyes checked. I think you might have cataracts. Because this movie is like on the level of Man of Steel to me.
I'm scrolling this guy's reviews, and it's just like almost anything superhero he loves way high. So he's like, so this is the weakest of the Thor movies, but they're all 5-star movies. Like, I don't understand this guy's brain.
Just like, I mean, this is Chris Chan brain. This
Fantasy
is just
adventure
another
films, right? Yeah, it's got the most stuff he recognizes, I guess.
Yeah, well, but like, can we talk a little bit about how awful this movie looks? Like, you know, putting aside the fact that just large chunks of this movie were clearly just shot with actors in front of a green screen. Like, there's one moment where Natalie Portman looks really badly, like, superimposed into the environment. And also, I will say, wasted fucking opportunity to not let Natalie motherfucking Portman go like Black Swan mode at like in All Evil and shit. She won an Oscar for that shit. Why wouldn't there's no scene where like she freaks out and does evil shit because she's infected with the ether?
Yeah,
and that just
the ether, like which is just such a non-thing MacGuffin until they're like, oh wait, it's an Infinity Stone. We gotta tack on this mid-credit scene. But no, this movie looks as like maybe just like a level above how drab and gray Man of Steel looked. Like, it's not quite as completely desaturated, but it's really fucking desaturated. Like, to the extent like the climax, like, I get it's in London, okay, the stereotype is London is constantly rainy and foggy, but it just watching that scene gave me like seasonal depression. It looked that bad to me. Just no light, no popping colors, just again my eyes just sliding around in my skull. Everything just looked terrible. Like, it's hard to describe like what's wrong with these movies visually and in terms of how the action plays out. But you just know it when you see it. You know what? It struck me because I remember there is this one part in Thor Ragnarok. It's like the Valkyries. It's like a shot. It's completely digitally composed. So, but it's the way it's like the composition of it. It's like a almost like a Renaissance mural or one of those like the Sistine Chapel. And it's I realize part of it is the composition is part of what matters, like in what makes an environment and something on screen pop out and hold your attention. Yeah, and that's where I think, in addition to just like the lack of like good sets and not always lack, but like varying to middling quality of sets and costumes comes in, is when people say these movies look like TV shows. They don't have very deliberate composition a lot of the time. It's that Because TV shows are produced not only on a smaller budget but on tighter schedules. You don't have time to set up and light more elaborate shots, so it's more kind of utilitarian. And these movies have that TV show utilitarianism up to a point, except when the camera is freed up by the entire sequence being CGI. But then it's just doing the whip around shit, which I'm very tired of.
Hey, you know, at least nobody knocked the camera askew.
Well, you can when the camera doesn't actually exist physically.
No, yeah. I just... It's like saying the Mona Lisa is garbage because it's not neon.
Well, that's why everyone always goes back to. It's
what
like,
does that mean?
Well, this movie doesn't have to conform to your tastes and standards, is basically their argument about all these things. And it's like, well, that's tastes and standards are what define whether or not you like a movie.
Yeah. And also, like, and then he follows it up like, I'm not claiming the film is on the artistic level of Mona Lisa, but, like, you did.
You did give it a 5-star rating.
You just did. Like, okay.
But he's got a bunch of these, and I think we should go through them and just sort of summarize, like, because he gives, so we've got complaint number 2. The film's villains are not as entertaining as Loki. And this is a dumb complaint because the Dark Elves are great because they remind me of the Star Trek 2009 villain Nero. Oh, that really memorable villain who was super interesting. And his ship, again, like I said, a guy, like an angry pale guy dressed in dark with too many greebles and his big greebly dark ship. He was wronged in the past and he wants revenge, and that's it. And they also sort of look like the orcs from Lord of the Rings, and that's
he like, just likes it because they remind him of things.
Yeah, they remind me of other.
It's Christian
movies.
brain. It's Christian brain. It's IP brain. It's like look. Like,
and
oh my god!
Complaint 3. The film is mostly exposition.
Wait, before you go on to complaint 3, because I do want to throw this in, because I don't think I only alluded to it, but I don't watch Doctor Who. I don't care. I actually think it's kind of cringe, or because I was on Tumblr when like Super Hulock was a big thing, and I always found that cringy and weird. Like it just exuded theater kid energy to me. I don't know. I'm not yucking anyone else's yum, but the villain.
The entire show is yucking your yum. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to enjoy things.
The main dark elf is played by Christopher Eccleston, who I don't know which Doctor he played, but he played Doctor Who.
I think he was the first of the rebooted Doctor Who from the 2000s.
Yeah. He didn't like playing this role at all.
He has nothing to do.
He said he said like he was basically lied to by the production about how much like makeup he would need to wear and like how long that process would take. So he said like, and I pulled this from the IMDb trivia page, which is a really great resource, although none of them are really cited, but I'm taking this on pure faith. But he said that like he really hated spending all those long hours in makeup to get the look. Which similar to like the problem Hugo Weaving had and why he didn't return to play Red Skull in Endgame. He claimed that Marvel never like had lied to him about informing him how extreme the makeup requirements were going to be. And later, according to the Collider has a really great series. We've referred to it a couple of times. It's how like the MCU was made. Their article on how Thor: The Dark World was made has this really great quote where Christopher Eccleston subsequently compared his experience shooting the film to putting a gun in his mouth.
Here's the thing: like if you're gonna make an actor go through all that, and it's funny, like if you're gonna make an actor go through all that, give them something to do.
No, he's
like,
just
give them a
he's
fucking
just like
character to go with all that fucking makeup, and they might be less pissed off about it.
He just wants to do what Thanos ends up doing, but he has like no backstory. It doesn't help that he speaks in like an alien language for 80% of the movie when he's on screen. So it's just like that's really distancing.
They're just generic, and I mean, like, you can get away with having generic bad guys if a lot of other things work, but nothing else in this movie works either. But it's just
and I think they also probably caught a lot. Yeah.
Like, I think we're pretty reasonable. Like, when there's things to like, we point them out. Like, even if we're kind of against the overall project for larger reasons, we'll be like, well, this, I can see why this works. This was entertaining. I can see why people like this. Like, I mean, this movie just sucks. And did it make money? Like, was this? I know it wasn't especially huge.
Oh, of course it made money. Of course it made money. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I didn't even bring up Chris Evans' cameo. The one thing
when Loki's doing his stand-up routine, he's transforming into different people, and he turns into Captain America for a second, and that's again like he's being a little too. Cute. It is. He's being, like, I think just the way it's executed, cute. He's being a little too goofy. Or I think he's the kind of guy who should be like a little more like witty and snide. But it was cute.
No. Wait, Chris Evans should be a little more witty and snide, or
Loki should. Okay. Loki's a little too goofy, or I think he should be like a little more witty, a little drier, a little more snide.
Yeah,
like not that he can't do that bit, but he's just like. But again, like, it's reshoots. They're throwing it in at the last minute. They probably just didn't have time to finesse it. But Chris, Loki's one of the most watchable characters they have in this whole deal.
Chris got to do some comedy, which was nice. He was actually like, it reminded me, like, he got his first big movie role was in Not Another Teen Movie. And Chris Evans is in that movie, and he turns around and he's got like a banana stuck up his ass. Like, so Chris Evans kind of started out in comedy in a way, like, and he was, before Captain America, he was more known for playing the smarmy jock.
Similar origin to Ryan Reynolds, who like started with Van Wilder, those college,
kind of similar
campus comedies.
Yeah, so Miguel, please insert the little clip of Chris Evans' cameo in this movie.
Oh, this is much better. Whoa. Costume's a bit much. So tight. But the confidence, I can feel the righteousness surging. Hey, you want to have a rousing discussion about truth, honor, patriotism? God bless them.
Thank you. But yeah, that's the only thing I remember. Let's move on. Complaint number 3. The film is mostly exposition. I think this is an overused excuse to rate films of particular genres poorly. Sure, I get it that the complaint does sometimes apply, but I think this complaint is similar to when I complain about a film, such as The Batman recently, having too much dialogue. This kind of thing just seems like personal opinion, as dialogue and exposition. Of course it's personal opinion.
You can't just take a critique and say that's just your opinion, man. That's what a critique is. Here's the thing. It's like all films are exposition. Is it done in a way that's interesting or entertaining, or is it flat and boring? This is flat and boring.
It's completely flat and completely boring.
I don't think we need to like read them all out verbatim.
I kind of want him just because his diction is very interesting.
That's okay, fair, that's true. But I just think we should just like highlight a phrase or two, because he's like, we'll be here
to me hours. This is all gold. This is all gold to me.
Are we just bullying an autistic guy?
No, we're not making. It's not like we're making money off of this, so that would be entirely different. No, but yeah, his 4th point is the film lacks action. What again? If you have this complaint here, then please leave action flicks alone and go back to your nominated dramas. This one opens and closes on fine action sequences, Although I will see that there are better action sequences out there, especially in the MCU in particular, I tend to give those flicks 5 stars too.
Why? Like, even if you really love Avengers or something, like I don't get, like, I admit this is a weaker MCU movie. It's also, so I went through, while we've been talking, like, he links all these lists he's made in his reviews.
Yeah, in every single one.
Every single one. I don't know why he has so many different lists, like jails and prisons ranked, space travel ranked, fantasy adventure,
so
airplane movies. But every single one is 50 to 80% superhero movies. So every list is mostly the same movies with just like a few different ones, and it's baffling to me. Like, you love superhero movies. And every genre of movie you can think of, you find a way to fit the superhero movies in there and put them all at the top.
Yeah, I mean, this is just
we're just bullying a very autistic guy. That's what we're doing.
I mean, but
how many people like this review? 21.
All those people.
I think, you know what?
Complaint number, yeah, go on.
I was just saying, maybe in the future when we do this, and this is just thinking on the fly, we should look at the reviews that are really popular. So that, I mean, if you find one that's like really out there, like that's, but we should look at the ones that are really popular and bad because they represent some sort of consensus.
I looked for like a popular 5-star review. I was like 10 pages into the Letterboxd
no, that's, I mean, in this case, yeah, it's Thor. This is interesting because this guy's so dogged about defending this aggressively mediocre movie. Sorry, I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm just thinking notes on the fly. Yeah, like we can edit this out.
Complaint number 5. There's a lack of romantic chemistry in the leads. I missed the romance tag here. Was this supposed to be a love story? I don't even get that here. The two seemed fine on screen together. But then again, I wouldn't know the difference between romantic chemistry or a pot of boiling water. Whatever. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, he's just very autistic.
But here's the thing, like, the lack of romantic chemistry is a problem because... at one point, this movie was like the relationship between Thor and Jane is like central to this movie's plot. It is,
in theory, supposed to be the heart of the film. In theory,
at least. Like, it's clearly supposed to be the heart of the film.
This is a common type of defense of when people are like defending a movie because it's like they're feel insecure because other people criticize it. It's like it's not your criticism is inaccurate. It's your criticism doesn't apply to me, right? He's like saying, well, I think the action's good and I think the romance doesn't even matter. So your criticism just isn't even valid. It's like, well, it was never valid to you personally. It's like,
yeah,
that's what opinions are. It's just, it's fascinating because this is emblematic of the way a lot of people process media, even if this guy's going to bat for something that's like especially mediocre, but it's that same sense of like, well, no, I'm allowed to like it. And it's like, well, joking aside, no one ever said you weren't.
Yeah, but I do kind of want to rip a little into like, I feel this movie really took Natalie Portman and like Jane Foster, like what little character there was for her, like other than like quirky science STEM girl in the first movie, like she becomes just a plot object for
she is. It's
the last half of the movie,
and I felt like for the first 20
Natalie fucking Portman, an Academy Award winner, and there's like she's. No wonder she like walked away from the MCU for like almost 10 years.
Well,
she's like just coming back to it because they finally got someone who knows what they're doing making Thor movies. I haven't seen the fucking next Thor movie's not even out yet, but like I guarantee it's gonna be a hell of a lot more entertaining than it can't.
Even if it's worse than this, if it's worse than this, it'll have to be bad in an interesting way because it's about as bad as a movie can be in that sense of like bad mediocre.
This is like it almost makes it worse than like actual like a shitty like shot on home video Like, I put my granddad in a wig.
Yeah, no, this is really just a boring. Like, I think my Letterboxd review of this was a movie that plays in the background of a porn video.
Yeah, but that would kill any boner. There's like, that's another
well, you'd
thing.
have to notice it. No, it's too boring for you to notice it's on in the background.
Okay, that's what you mean.
It wouldn't kill your boner unless the porn is itself so aggressively mediocre that you're looking at the background.
It's not the set decoration. It's like, okay, we're gonna have a Thor playing in the background while you.
No, it's just like those like lower budget porn videos where it's just the TV's on in the background and just something is playing.
It's like, they just got Rick and Morty playing in the background.
Yeah. Seinfeld or Always Sunny in Philadelphia, something like that.
Yeah, but no, Natalie Portman has done like real dirty here, like as like arguably one of the like most respected or most like definitely one like a prestige actor. Like, she's given nothing to work with here.
I mean, like I said, there was and
even what they just don't go anywhere with it.
There was a glimmer.
I want to see Natalie Portman be evil.
There was a glimmer of her
good at that.
Being a person in the first like 20 minutes, and then she's just kind of tugged around Asgard, and then
she becomes like a Mary Sue. Like, her whole romance with Thor felt very fan fiction to me.
It is. I mean, I said, like, it's never like, so why is Thor so madly in love with this woman? What is it he loves about her? What is it that like fascinates him?
He explained the 9 realms to her over a campfire after she hit him with her car. That's the reason she hit. Oh no, maybe like being like hit by someone's like vehicle or like their like horse-drawn carriage in like Asgard is like a marriage proposal in their culture. Maybe that's.
But then why did he accept it?
I don't know.
Like to me, it's just like there's nothing there. Like you look at like within the MCU even, so we can make kind of an apples to apples comparison. Like, Tony Stark and Pepper Potts like have a dynamic.
Yeah,
they have like an attraction and a friction, and whether or not you like whether that's like the best example of that ever or anything, not really, but within the apples to apples comparison, it's like it works. It's functional. You get what's going on. I don't like if there was something where it's like, all my life I've been just like a meathead with a big stick, and then she showed me how like interesting the world can be with like science and knowledge. Like that could be something.
That could have. Why wasn't that the first movie?
Why isn't that anywhere in this?
No, it's not. Or like even like you take like Peggy and Steve, and like their big overarching thing is like they're gonna be separated by tons of decades, and the fact that she ends up fucking dying, a couple years after he's resurrected from the ice.
Yeah, you get a nice little romantic tragedy to that.
And that's an angle, but there's like there's just nothing here. It's so empty, and it's just so like it's like I think these are the scenes with like Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth, or like Jane and Thor, are the most boring of this movie. And unfortunately, that's the first third of the movie.
Yeah, I feel like there's nothing there. If you gave them better material, maybe some chemistry would emerge, or maybe they just don't work together. I don't know. Admittedly, I'm not the best.
I can tell you there's like it was approaching like negative chemistry, like on the level of like Liv Tyler and Ed Norton in Hulk.
Oh, that's pretty flat.
Almost as bad. It was almost as flat.
It just doesn't. I don't know. It's like nothing in this fucking movie works, man. Like the first one, like you've kind of got something when Thor's on Earth and he's the fish out of water. There's a little that kind of like it's something. It doesn't like the execution's still not there, but it's something. This movie has nothing. But like the pieces are there. Like with just if you just trimmed out the extraneous plot stuff that doesn't go anywhere. If you had dialogue that didn't suck. If you had more imaginative art direction, you could have a nice 2-hour fantasy adventure movie. If you didn't go back to Earth for any of that bullshit, you just have a nice 2-hour fantasy adventure movie. But I think, I don't know if they're just like too scared that it would be too weird or different to do that, so they just had to contrive all these familiar elements. I don't know. It's
God, I'm just so happy this wasn't over 2 hours. I would have killed myself.
Yeah, it's tied for Hulk as being the shortest movie in the MCU, which is amazing that none of these movies are like 90 minutes. Like, that's weird.
I mean, I feel like was like Batman 89 and like Sam Raimi Spider-Man were, I think, just under, maybe a little over 2 hours. Like, I'm trying to think, has there ever been like a tight 90 or is there like a tight 90-minute like big budget superhero movie?
No, Batman 89's over 2 hours, just a little bit.
And the Donner Superman is the same length as Man of Steel. Weird, because one movie just feels like it goes on and on and on because it just is 45 minutes scene long, loud, terrible gray fight. But I mean, I don't know, like, aside from obviously, you know, your B movies, or maybe those early awkward, low budget Marvel adaptations, there was like the Punisher in the 80s. I don't know if those
X-Men
are around closer to like 90 minutes.
The first Bryan Singer X-Men movie is an hour 44. That seems to be the shortest of the major movies after a quick bit of Googling.
Yeah.
Which is wild for being an ensemble movie with... For being an ensemble movie that's got an ensemble of villains that it needs to set up, like, that's pretty tight. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I watched that movie a lot as a kid. Haven't seen it in a long time. I don't know how it holds up. But the thing about the X-Men is they're a metaphor for being a pedophile. You have a special power, and you're persecuted by society for no reason, and that power is the love of young boys.
Oh God. God, I don't want to talk about Thor anymore. Do you have any more thoughts about Thor? Because this movie is just like...
Let me skim my notes. I think I had a couple like big ones, but they're buried in like the really incidental.
Rapid fire.
Oh yeah, there's just like there's a few little things.
Wait, who fixed the fucking Biofrost? That's never addressed. They made a big fucking deal about Thor destroying the Biofrost at the end of the first movie.
The Biofrost.
Yeah, the Rainbow fucking Road.
Bifrost. It's
Bifrost.
It's
Biofrost.
the bisexual frost. That's why it's a rainbow.
But yeah, it's the biological frost. But yeah, no, it's just fixed. It's just fixed. And as of like Avenger, as in the Avengers, they say it's not fixed. There are other ways to get, like, he just used like Odin's power, but no, he's just beaming on the... They're
on pretty
the fucking Rainbow Road.
Inconsistent with that. Not that it's like it needs to be... Not that it needs to be like we need the whole logistical infrastructure of this stuff, but it's like for these things to have consequences, need to have like some internal consistency.
Yeah, that was really egregious to me. But like, that was your big thing at the end of the movie.
There's also like Odin is like lecturing, and this makes a lot of sense with the reshoots now, where Odin's lecturing Loki, giving him shit about what he did in Avengers, and he's like, you know, humans are just like us. They live and they die. What you did is bad. You shouldn't conquer a realm and rule it as a benevolent overlord. And then 5 seconds later, he's talking to Thor, who's all sad about Natalie Portman, and he's like, human lives are nothing. They don't matter. And it's like, it's like right the next scene. And it's
not redundant.
But with the reshoots, that makes a lot of sense. A lot more sense. I noticed like the movie opens, so we've got our Lord of the Rings exposition where Thor's grandpa did an inadequate genocide and hid away the glowy swirly ring of power. That's another note. Every like fantasy-ish movie, or even if the magic is technology in theory or whatever, it's always just like swirly, glowy CGI. Like all these movies, it's swirly
potential to look so much cooler.
Swirly, glowy CGI, and I feel like magic or magic-y stuff. I wish there was like a more visually interesting way of representing it than just colory swirls. I'm like bored of seeing that in everything.
Yeah, like particle effects.
Yeah, and then there's the whole
it's just
like
so inspired.
They're just fighting, and it's a lot. I've noticed that with like Iron Man and stuff. There's always just like generic bad guys who threaten a generic peace that they're fighting. Like in this case, they're restoring peace to the Nine Realms, which was sundered when the Bifrost was broken, and reasserting Asgardian hegemony, which is inherently a good thing, I guess. And then they kind of touch on it at the end when Thor's just like, I don't have what it takes to be king. You got to be too brutal and smart. And Loki was right. And it's like, where did we address the brutality and compromise it takes to be king?
Yeah, we
really
didn't.
Anywhere. But again, that's where you could like, maybe, again, it's like the movie is just kind of like, yeah, if you want peace, you subjugate everybody through brute force and you genocide the people that won't bow down. Which, like, even if that was your point, you could explore that more interestingly if you wanted to be like that much of like a Kissingerian realist or whatever. Well, I guess Kissinger was more of like a balance of powers guy, so I don't know if that really applies. But
damn, who do you think Henry Kissinger's favorite superhero is? I hate the fact that I have to say is because he's not fucking dead yet. How the fuck
he's not dead? Oh, God, I don't think he watches these movies. He doesn't give a shit. There's no way Henry Kissinger's sitting down to watch a Marvel movie. He's too busy going to the Jeffrey Epstein Eyes Wide Shut orgies with his rotten fucking dick that's more like mold than dick.
Moldy dick, yeah.
And also, it's like so we've got the Nine Realms in Yggdrasil, and then we've got within Midgard, which is Earth, but which is also like all of our space and cosmos too, I guess.
That's
so you've got all the galaxies in the known universe, and that's all part of Midgard, and you've got 8 other fantasy sci-fi realms, and then you've got the so you've got like these.
And then you've got the multiverse. This is, I think, the first implication, or at least what they'd probably retroactively, like the marketing team at least would like go like, oh, this is the movie. That's actually the multiverse. Like what they would,
I guess, but it doesn't
retroactively describe it
like
as,
having
probably.
These different cosmologies stacked on top of each other. Just like so, the Asgardians will go to war against all these extras from an episode of Angel. In just a random set of woods somewhere by a tent to reassert peace in the Nine Realms. But then where are they for like anything else that happens in I don't know if they show up in Endgame or whatever. But it's like, where are they for everything else? If this is like their deal is ruling this cosmology, like like that's the thing when you're like going, I guess, right from the comics where you're retroactively stitching things together that don't really fit to create marketing opportunities. And like if these are if we're gonna treat these like it's not just a little crossover here and there, but it's one big universe and everything's an integral part of it. So if you're gonna claim to do that, then you demand to be analyzed that way, and then at that point, all these parts not fitting together is a legitimate problem that you can criticize because that defeats the whole point of what you're doing. And all of the creative controls and assembly line process you execute to make this stuff fit together can't be justified. And I was just thinking, like, I thought I had something else. I just have a lot of. I fill my notes with too many like minor observations that are not really relevant, or that I won't need notes.
I like your observation that Asgard looks like a casino. That knocks me the fuck out because
everything's just fucking plated gold. It looks like a Trump casino.
Like fucking
it's
Vegas.
It's like these are supposed to be the Norse gods. Can't we get like more of a long hall?
But I also think that's like a perfectly poetic. Like, that's, like, a very perfectly poetic example, just because, like casino or, like, Las Vegas, you got the mini Eiffel Tower. It's all these facsimiles of real places, and they look cheap and miniature and bad, and that's what, like, Asgard is like the casino version of like Lord of the Rings or
that's these
King's
movies
Landing.
In general is everything is a little cheaper and smaller, especially like given the money they're spending on these movies. It's always frustrating how uninteresting they tend to look, and like God, you could just like more, like even if you did everything green screen and CGI, just having like more interesting shot composition could go so far to like giving things a sense of scale and texture, like I don't know, Arrival. Like the spaceships and that are all CGI, but the way they're shot, they look like you get a sense that they're like big and imposing and scary.
Yeah.
Because Denis Villeneuve, even if you think he's overrated or whatever, he has cinematic shot framing that gives
it's like
them.
They're like the monoliths from 2001. Is that your watch something else?
No, that's just an example of a movie where it's like an effect was like probably all CG, but it was still effective just by using like shot composition to make it visually interesting.
Yeah, there's a way to do it. I guess
just these movies just these like that's even like watching the best ones is always frustrating because you see where they like bump up against the limitations of being an MCU movie where it's like here or there's like an interestingly composed shot, and then it's like then we go to the action, we're just doing the CGI camera swoop around and then everything's perfunctory and utilitarian. And I mean, I don't know to what extent we can lay that at the feet of Joss Whedon, because the Avengers had to become the reference point for what Marvel movies look like. And as a director, visually, he's just adequate,
I think. Yeah.
Because he's a TV guy.
I guess before, because I'm done speaking about Thor. I don't want a stinky doo-doo movie. But I guess before we move on to like our watch something else suggestion, we'd be remiss not to mention, because this story just dropped today, that like Marvel Studios basically has the rights to use Stan Lee's likeness forever now.
Yeah.
Although they specified they're like not sure if that means they can give him the old Peter Cushing treatment in Rogue One. God knows I don't want to see General Tarkin ass Stan Lee talking to me about here it comes, Guardians of the Galaxy volume 7. Yay. But
and he's just a janitor who says, "You say you're Guardians of the Galaxy?" And
and it's just Stan Lee's face and superimposed on like not even like an old guy actor, but just like they got Doug Jones or something, or like Andy Serkis to just like huddle down like with a cane. They're like it's that level of like, you know, faking it at that point. But the using I just think the concept of like having the rights to use someone's like face and voice and writing,
we can
basically
just
every part of them however you want after they died. It's just
a digital facsimile of them and just have them around forever as little puppets. And it also sucks because it's like that same like we can never let anything go. Like nothing can ever end.
Nobody's ever really dead.
And which means like now we're gonna live in a world now where it's not just the same characters, the same brands and franchises that just go on and on and on forever, but now it's gonna be the same fucking actors. Like we're not gonna get new like if this goes to, if we follow this like its maximal like worst conclusion, no more new actors, no new faces. That's too risky. It'll just be digital recreations of the same actors that we all like right now.
Because nobody's ever really gone.
No, just The Rock forever. In 1,000 years,
everyone's The Rock.
In the Logan's Run bubble city beneath the earth, it's just going to be a computerized version of The Rock in all the movies, and Mark Wahlberg for all time. until the last. Even when all the last humans are dead, it'll just be like there will come soft rains. It'll just be screens in empty hallways running algorithmically created movies for skeletons.
Yeah.
And they'll all have
and I also have to say
they'll all have Timothy Chalamet in them or something.
Hey, I think he's a handsome young lad.
Nothing against these actors as actors, but it's just that they will, whoever's popular like right now as this technology comes about will just be the movie stars of forever.
And
that's why we call this the death of cinema.
Yeah, and as a Bostonian, I am also very, very sorry about Mark Wahlberg. He does not represent me. He does not represent my people or my town or the Dunkin' Donuts brand. We do not claim him. Even though he has like several burger joints named after himself opened in the Boston metropolitan area. I'm very sorry.
Are they any good? Have you ever had
Mark
a Wahlburger?
No. They opened one like near my college, and why would I go to Wahlburgers when there was Tasty Burger up the street? Fuck that. Like,
so
you're gonna present me with a stupid stinky Wahlburger, like a burger made by a guy who got away with like kicking the shit out of a Vietnamese man and paid him off so we could say nice things about him for the rest of his life.
It's funny that you bring that up.
Am I gonna get a burger called Tasty Burger? The choice is obvious.
It's a Tasty Burger. It says right there.
Anyway, we're not being sponsored by Tasty Burger, unfortunately. No. But so
Tasty Burger, send me a free burger across the continent.
They're actually really good. But you know what? I speaking of Tasty Burger, I had that before I went and saw what's going to be my firm watch something else recommendation. I enjoyed a nice burger before I went and saw The Northman in theaters with the Dolby IMAX treatment with like the vibrating seats and shit and like the surround sound.
Oh, I wonder if that's in a theater in Nanaimo or something. It's not going to the town where I live. I still haven't seen it.
We've been like, hey, give us a fucking Viking movie. Like this Thor shit, this is pussy stuff. No, Vikings are dirty, they're gross, they're evil, they're rough, and God, the Northman is all of those things. People get their heads chopped the fuck off. There is a horse made out of human limbs. Anna Taylor-Joy like lifts up her skirt and shows off her merkin at one point. And here's our like slight Marvel tie-in. The star of the movie, Alexander Skarsgård, another one of the Skarsgårds.
Another Skarsgård.
I think he's Stellan's nephew. I think he's the nephew because there's Bill.
Is he the one that was in? Is he the one that in the Northman? Is he the one that was in that vampire show, True Blood?
True Blood, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, all the women in my family loved him when that show was a thing.
Oh, he was delicious on that show. Yeah, no, The Northman is like everything you want and everything a Viking movie should be. It's not my favorite Robert Eggers movie. I didn't enjoy it as much or more than either The Witch or The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is probably my favorite, just because like it's the like.
The Lighthouse is insane.
Version of the episode of like the SpongeBob with the Hashling and Slasher. Like, I love the Lighthouse, but
it's also,
the Northman is
it's also
is
funny
great.
when you realize it's supposed to be funny. It's quite a funny movie.
Yeah, the Northman's great. Very, very, very violent, very, very gory. They're also a movie that has a strange use of a couple stock fart sound effects. Miguel, I've linked you a couple fart sound effects.
So _2
probably anyone that you use. I think it showed up in the movie, which was it took me out of it a little bit, but it was coming from Willem Dafoe. So Willem Dafoe farts in this movie.
Oh, we got Willem Dafoe's in this too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Willem Dafoe. He also farted
I guess he's part of the Eggers staple now.
Yeah, he's him and Anya Taylor-Joy are like clearly his like go-to people now.
Anya Taylor-Joy is interesting to me because she's like really pretty, but she's like slightly too symmetrical. Like she looks a little bit uncanny, like a space alien.
It's like an elf.
But that makes her like more interesting than being like generically pretty.
Yeah, she's got a very like.
I've only really seen her in The Witch. Yeah. I think I didn't watch Queen's Gambit. She was good in The Witch. So
neither did I. Yeah, she's got a very elvish, like elven.
Yeah, she's got a slightly. Like she's like good. Fairy. I feel like she's really appropriate for this sort of material because she's got a slightly unearthly quality. I don't know.
It's like
I find it compelling.
Yeah, almost kind of a little bit of a like trad wife sort of. Not. Oh my god, that was the wrong word to use, but
good job.
Like a. Miguel, can you please bleep that? Please. And just let people but yeah, she's great in the movie. Alexander Skarsgård is great in the movie. Nicole Kidman is in the movie. She also if I saw at the AMC theater. So if you go to AMC theaters, before every movie they play a little like introduction where Nicole Kidman walks into an AMC theater, and she looks like she's been digitally de-aged or like run through a filter. She's like it gives the same sort of
she's had a little too much work done
as General Tarkin in Rogue One. Yeah,
lately.
Like, yeah. So yeah, she's if you want a Nicole Kidman double feature, go see The Northman at your local AMC. Although I think certainly by the time this comes out, it's probably going to be out of theaters. I think it's already streaming on video on demand in some places.
Oh shit, maybe I can.
Which is the isn't that insane? Like the turnaround now from like theater release.
I mean, when they're not simultaneous,
of, like, independent stuff. Yeah, with the exception of like independent stuff, like like only a bunch of like last year's Sundance films are just coming out like on streaming and like for public viewing now, which is weird. But
I think what's
like,
going to happen,
big budget movies, the turnaround is so small. It's like a matter of like not even like 2 months. Like
because I think theaters are less and less important to the revenue model on the studio end.
It's just going to be Marvel movies playing in studios now. Like there's some theaters that are just like, there are just some movies or some movie theaters that like most of the showings are all Marvel or like Star Wars or DCU. Like it's depressing. It's so sad. Like this is I thought I lived in a capitalist society where I have the ability to make a choice of what I want when I go to the movie theater, and not just the choice of what time I want to see Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness.
I mean, this is we're in ultra consolidation mode now. It's all just one big company, really.
It's like, oh god, what was it's like the Paramount decree never happened. It's like the same I think it was called like vertical alignment, what the studios used to do before they had to.
Because the studios used to own the theaters. That was the thing. Now the studios own their own streaming services, so it's like they basically own their own. Yeah, they own their own platforms and places for distribution. So it's like the theater can get It's. I mean, that's the interwar period. Like, but that's what they're going back to. Is like they're trying to rewind the clock to the pre-New Deal world in America and the pre-post-war social democratic settlement in Europe. So I watched something else.
What's your recommendation? Yeah.
I forgot. It just fell out of my head. I had it. It was right there.
Clearly, it's not very good. That defeats the entire purpose.
Gone. Fuck, what was I getting? I'm going insane. I forgot what I was going to say. It was right there.
Was it related by like content? Does it have a shared actor?
I think I think it was a fantasy movie, but now I'm just like
Legend? Willow?
I'm not I'm not sure. I had it. Now it's okay, you know what I want to do? Because we got a little bit of time. We're just running a little short this episode, understandably, because there wasn't as much to talk about.
Not quite. We're over 90 minutes. We never make short episodes.
But if we could just talk about something I'm just kind of curious about, because it'll be a while before we get to it proper. And then maybe whatever I was thinking of will come back into my brain, because when you just like talk about something else and it comes back.
Yeah.
Did you finally see the Batman?
No, I haven't yet.
I thought you did. I saw you talking about it on Twitter.
I know, because I just haven't had that's a 3-hour movie or close to it, so it's I've just been working a lot lately, like 6 days a week, so my free time has been kind of more precious than it was like a couple months ago, but I am marginally more interested in seeing that movie than I was like 2 months ago. So I'll check it out when I have time.
Oh, I thought you'd seen it. I was curious your thoughts about it. But you know what?
No, I haven't seen it.
My suggestion came back.
Okay, what is it?
John Milius directed Arnold Schwarzenegger starring 1982 Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, okay.
That movie slaps.
Good old Conan.
Yeah, that movie's awesome.
Conan.
It's in a lot of respects probably deeply reactionary, but it's got tits and blood and violence and practical sets and muscly oiled men and some pretty good like quasi mytho epic type of lines. Like Subutai, his erstwhile companion, is standing there. And someone asks him, "Why do you cry?" He says, "For Conan who cannot," or something like that, right? Like that kind of stuff. It's awesome. It rules. It's James Earl Jones plays the villain, and he's really good in it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
No, the 82 Conan movie's awesome. It rules.
No, 80s movies were like...
Well, 80s
all of them
fantasy
were produced by
movies
cocaine.
Yeah, that too. But they're all like, they've got that tactility that comes from having real sets and practical effects and a lot of charm. And they're all like, there's a weirdness to them because they're more in that like mythic before fantasy and sci-fi, at least in film, became like really lore dominated.
Yeah.
Things were more in that quasi mythic
it just exists because sensibility. It exists.
Yeah.
You don't need to rationalize it like you don't need to embed it in like science or anything.
Yeah. So things are less explained and kind of more mysterious and strange and otherworldly, and that's and then it's got that like it's got that kind of like slightly gritty, somewhat amoral universe. So Conan's not really he's a hero in a more classical sense. He's not really especially a good guy. His god is a god of battle and steel, and he's what's that? One of those other lines is like. He makes this long prayer to his god Krull to help him get revenge, and then he says, "If you don't help me, then to hell with you." It's that kind of movie. He says
in the Arnold voice.
Oh yeah. It's 82. His accent's real thick. Oh god, no. Conan 82 is awesome. That's like if you're like you want to watch a fantasy movie, like that's some good shit. Then there's also stuff that's like I have a soft spot for it. I don't know how strongly I can recommend it to other people. But, like Krull, Legend, Willow, Lady Hawk I haven't seen since I was a little kid. I've actually been I wanted to rewatch that.
Willow I liked. That was, I had that.
Yeah, Willow's a lot of fun.
Another movie that was not played a lot when I was a little, but it was a movie I'd watch with my mom time to time. So it's I think it would hold up. Jesus, the
Army of Darkness.
When are they gonna get like what's that actor's name?
Warwick Davis. Vern Troyer, not Vern Troyer. Is that the equivalent of being racist?
Oh, what fucking wee man, right?
No, Warwick Davis. That should be cut.
Like,
cut
yeah,
that. I just Warwick Davis. I knew.
Yeah, Warwick Davis. Like, when are they gonna? I feel like he's like because he's done like Star Wars, but I feel like it's only kind of a matter of time, and Harry Potter. So the MCU or the DCU is like the next like franchise.
Yeah, have we seen?
Basically.
Well,
like, when are they gonna?
They do everything with computers now, so they'd have to cast him as an actor, not just as like an Ewok or something.
Yeah,
but admittedly, I think that's something that's kind of sweet about Willow, because it was like a George Lucas kind of produced joint, right? Is he's like, letting this guy just like be the hero of a movie and not just an incidental companion to the hero or a little furry critter or something. And I think that's kind of cool.
It's a fun, nice representation,
kind of cute 80s fantasy movie. You got your stop motion.
I love
stop motion. It's like a furnace or something comes to life and starts walking around and becomes like a big.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Cool. But yeah, no, I think of like just watch an 80s fantasy movie in general, but I'd say in particular, watch Conan the Barbarian. That movie slaps.
Yeah, watch anything else. Watch please watch The Northman if you're a sicko like me. Yeah, watch Paint Dry. Watch The Northman if you thought there were not enough decapitations in Thor 2. Watch Conan the Barbarian if you think there were enough
decapitations in Thor 2. There's some decapitations in Conan the Barbarian. There's a really good decapitation in Conan the Barbarian.
Oh shit! Okay, well now I have to see it.
No, you'd like it. You'd like it. I think you'd like it a lot. Cool. You should watch it.
Definitely have to crack a bottle of wine open. Just like put on my critic glasses, which are just my regular glasses, and just be prepared for a cinematic experience. All right. Anything you want to plug before we end? Because the one thing I want to plug is hopefully by the time this comes out, and I will be so mad at myself if I haven't finished it, but I will. I'm currently working on a review of the new remaster of Inland Empire that just just finished its it's a remaster of
from being shot on Handycam.
Yeah, and you know what? It looks great. I saw it in the theater. And I'm gonna be honest, I was on like 50 milligrams of edibles while I was watching it. I was like in the second row.
I don't know if I'd want to be high.
Fucking fantastic. That. Oh, it made it like so much more terrifying for me. I loved it.
Peaks, but I don't know if I'd want to be high for something like Inland Empire.
Oh my god, when Laura Dern's face does that thing at the very end, I like got scared. And I've actually never seen it before, but I got scared.
I've never seen Inland Empire. It's been on my list for a while.
I'm gonna have I'm writing a very nice like commentary / review of the remaster, and that'll be out on the Art Fuse hopefully next week. I'm putting my faith in the fact that I can ramble on about David Lynch for like hours and hours.
We should do a David Lynch episode. Probably.
We need yes, please, for my sake. Although it'd be funny trying to aside like Dune aside, because Dune is probably like the closest thing you could even like compare to being like a Marvel movie and David Lynch's oeuvre. And even then, like David Lynch's Dune is very much a David Lynch movie, even though it was clearly very fucked with by the studio.
I want to watch it at some point because the art direction looks really amazing, and I kind of just want to enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
Even if like everyone's always told me like, the movie looked cool, but it was a total mess. Like plot and story.
Yeah, it was messy, but like also it had pugs, and I like pugs. Yeah, there were pugs, and there are pugs in David Lynch's Dune. He was like, I want pugs in my Dune movie. Kyle, you get to hold the pug.
I did a really good David Lynch.
A David Lynch impression on command.
I did a good one off the cuff, and I never tried one before a couple months ago, and then every attempt to replicate it has been failed because I've been too self-conscious about it. It wasn't just like launching from the gut, and now I'm afraid to try again. But I think that about wraps it up. I don't really have anything to plug. I'd like to ask the audience to help plug the show.
Yeah, plug us.
I'm not good at self-promotion.
Well, not sexually. Don't plug us sexually, please don't.
Oh, dude, I did.
But plug our show.
I'm not good at self-promotion, so if you're good at it, please promote us on my behalf.
I just think self-promotion isn't hot. It's not cool.
I've never been comfortable with it. I think I try to do it, and I do it with like too many layers of like self-deprecation, irony, and then it just like doesn't work because people are just like, wait,
yeah,
you don't get anywhere underselling things. My sincere thanks for listening. A few people have talked to me or in public places I've seen about how much they've liked the show, and that really does actually.
Wait, for real? And you didn't tell me this?
Totally. No, I think I told you at least about one or two of them.
That like came up to you in public?
Not in person, online.
Oh, okay.
No, not.
All right,
not
I thought
in
you
person.
were being like
stopped.
No. They were like,
just like in places online, I've seen
Marvelous
on public places online. Like I've seen people here and there.
Okay, link me to those whenever they happen.
Yeah, not just talk to me about it's like in chats and stuff like goes, but like have mentioned to me that they like it, or just mentioned in on Discord servers and stuff where I've seen that they liked it, and a listener Ames, who is a speedrunner on Twitch, shouted us out on her show and on her Discord, which is extremely kind.
Thanks,
and
dude.
I'm very grateful for. And I don't know. Like it's been a rough year. I don't want to go into detail. I've and even like something I've talked about. It's been a rough year.
Yeah, we could use some help in this aspect. I think our message deserves to be heard because we're I think it's fair to say we're still like the only specific anti-MCU multiverse cinematic universe podcast. Like, so we're really pioneers here. So you wanna fund your cultural pioneers because this is how you get new stuff.
So yeah, I mean, if you just like, it is if you're like the show and you want to share it with other people and get them to check it out, that is greatly appreciated. Feedback is always appreciated. And like I said, it's been a bit of a tough go lately. So I'm fine. I'm personally fine. It's just other things in my life have been a bit.
Stu's not dying. He's made a full COVID recovery.
Yeah, I've just recovered from COVID. That's one of the things.
COVID.
But I'm fine. It's just been an emotionally trying few months, and seeing anyone just go, "Hey, I like your podcast," or anything you do, always it means it's easy to forget when you're on the other side and you're just like, "Oh, I should tell this person I like their thing." No, it's blah blah. But no, it's great, and it always means more than you realize, and I'm really appreciative and grateful. So thank you.
All right, guys. Yep. Well, thank you. It's about 11:30 on the East Coast, so right. I gotta go to fucking bed.
And I've got to charge my laptop.
I gotta go to fucking bed. So yep. Good night, everybody, and I think next time we'll probably be talking about Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier,
which will be good for. I get to see Chris again. Yay! But I'll probably also watch a bunch of better movies beforehand. So
I was thinking maybe I should watch some of those Parallax View 3 days.
Oh, I was going to watch Parallax View. Yeah, I was going to watch Parallax View.
Before we do because Parallax View rocks. I haven't seen Conversation. I haven't seen Condor, or those yet, but I was planning to do it, so that would be, I think, something.
There we go. Yep.
So look forward to that, and bye.
And Thor 2 stinks, yeah.
Thor 2 sucks.
Goodbye.
Bye.